3 different styles and 3 different properties. This is Foxy TV, episode 97. This week on Foxy TV, we hit the road and head out to 3 different property styling jobs, all with different styles. And we're going to be catching up with Phoebe to sort of describe each style a little bit further and what that means and how you can incorporate those styles into your home staging. And the second part of the episode is going to be dedicated to Q&A. There's about 9-10 minutes of Q&A, Phoebe answering your questions from Instagram, so stick around for that as well. But let's get into things. We're going to start on the north side in Nunda for our first install of the day. So the guys have just left.
Yes.
And where are we this morning?
We are in Nunda this morning.
Yeah, and what are we doing here?
We're actually doing quite a big install. It is a 6-bedroom house split up into 2. So you've got a granny flat with 2 bedrooms at the front, and then you've got a 4-bedroom house at the back of it. So complete dual living, which is awesome, but the rooms here are quite big. So you've got formal living downstairs, and then more of a kid's space up with most of the bedrooms.
And this place, I think, has been recently painted and whatnot as well.
So the owners have put in a bit of money to try and get that back up in the sale. So they've repainted the place. All of upstairs has brand new carpet. They've had cleaning, then have had all the electrician, all the lights redone, so they all look perfect. So, and then with styling, it'll just help increase that sale price for them.
The style of home that we went there, I would call it traditional. It is targeted towards a family, those ones. So we needed to make sure that when you walk in, you're not feeling out of depth. You're not thinking, oh, the kids are going to touch this. You want to touch it. You want to be able to feel it. You want to feel like the kids are comfortable. So we didn't go with creams like we would standardly. We went with more beiges, more robust colours. And then we brought in some really earthy tones, but brought in the browns and beiges. We had the really cool feather artwork in the front with a huge big Protea statement artwork off the dining section in the kitchen. So traditional styling, it's more about, for us, the way that we would do it, it's a little bit about the luxe, but more about the familiarity with the family. Downstairs was styled as the kids, like a study nook, as well as a media space, which is where you would have your kids' space down there. You can shut the door off, not see any toys. So that's, there was definitely a single bed in there too that pulled at the heartstrings of the little ones. And then the double beds were targeted more towards the younger adults, and then obviously you had your parents' retreat.
Let's now head to our second install in Carindale. So Phoebe, install number 2 for today. Where are we? What are we doing?
We are in Carindale and we're doing a beautiful, it's a nice big 5-bedroom house, a couple of living spaces. We're doing 2 bedrooms in this one and going for quite a contemporary feel. So it's really making it just lift that extra price level. It's a beautiful home. The driveway is done gorgeous, but there was nothing to really, you walk up to the driveway and curb appeal was fantastic, but there was nothing to really stand out. You walk through the house and that's what we wanted. You wanted to walk through and really elevate that price point. So we went contemporary and we definitely went luxe. So for us, that's bringing in some beautiful statement armchairs. They're beautiful patterned armchairs there and using a statement coffee table. Pairing it up with the dining table, which was a glass top dining table. Contemporary to me is less about the family and more about the look. So for example, a glass top dining table, I would never have that at my house. So fingerprints, everything like that would just drive me nuts. But in a formal living dining setting, it looked absolutely perfect with those really cool cream chairs. Then we walked around to the back section, which is the family room, which is still luxe and it's still very modern, but it's way more family friendly than the formal living dining was. So for us, Mackenzie Street was really important. The clients moved out. We reverted those living dining sections back to their original intended purpose. The formal dining space was originally, when we came through for the consult, the kids' toy space, but it was a thoroughfare and it needed to all join and all make sense all the way through to the amazing outdoor area.
And on to the third job, onto the third style, just down the road next to Canada, we are heading to Karina. It's where are we now? The third install.
2 suburbs over in Karina Heights. This one's more of a coastal Queenslander type feel. So we are doing all the bedrooms in this one. So 5 beautiful bedrooms and 2 living areas, dining and 1 outdoor. So, geez, a warm day though. So that was Chataway Street in Karina. So we went a lot more coastal for this particular property. It was a Queenslander, it was open, it was airy, it had 2 distinct living spaces. It didn't have all the white fixtures, everything that everyone would associate with Hamptons, but a coastal style doesn't have to have white fixtures. Coastal and Hamptons are different. So you'll see we do have some white elements, but white wicker, the white sideboards and white chairs, but it's more about the colours for us that we were bringing in. We didn't bring in the ginger jars, we didn't bring in all the Hamptons is lots of styling. So coastal, it's a pared back version of Hamptons. It's a relaxed style, it's light and it's bright and it helps to reflect the light in those spaces. The downstairs space at Chataway Street was quite dark. It was a really big space, but it was a very dark space. So it was about making sure that we made that as light as possible. We've got a really cool blue sofa downstairs. It's very modern, but it worked in beautifully with the coastal shack piece of artwork we had in the back. And then upstairs was a very traditional coastal feel, like the really cool leaf table. And it was more about bringing in those blue elements that you'll see throughout the house. For us as a styling company, it's really important that we have the versatility of stock to make sure that if we have 3 installs in a day, 2 of them in the same suburb, 1 is a little bit further away, all 3 of these clients have reached out to us on Instagram and our social media. We need to make sure that all of these properties suit and complement their homes, but also are all distinctly different, because if we're producing the same thing every day, that's boring, nothing stands out, and that home buyers are going to see the same thing in every property. So it's really important that we are able to bring in different stock so that each property sings on its own. So that's what we have a huge focus on, is making sure our inventory range is huge. Those properties, whilst the styles worked perfectly for each home and the style of home helped us to determine the style that we were going with, the inventory that we had available to us, so the pieces of furniture, the colours of the artwork, the cushions that we had here in stock, also helped to guide us down those different paths to make sure that everything was cohesive.
So there you have it, 3 different styles in 3 different properties. I hope you enjoyed that and found it informative. Let's now move on to Q&A with Phoebe. First question comes from Candy Lee, and her question is partial styling with existing antique dining table and sideboard. So I don't know, not really a question, but...
But it is something that happens a lot. So most of the time it's the agent getting us through on behalf of a client, or having suggested to a client to get us through. So antique furniture is beautiful, and in the right home it's absolutely gorgeous, but it's very dark and it absorbs a lot of the light. So, and it's also normally a lot bigger than more of the Scandi and the minimalistic type furniture that we do have, and that's readily available now. So what we're doing when we style, it really honestly, it depends on the home and the style of the home. A modern contemporary home, our first suggestion is going to be to remove that furniture. You need to open it out, you need to make the space feel nice and big. We need to bring in some glass top surfaces and some lighter timbers. If it's modern and contemporary, it needs to be done differently. If the home suits the traditional antique furniture, then we'll definitely absolutely work with it. So most of the time it's switching the old beautiful Victorian dining table with the matching dining chairs. We're switching out the dining chairs and bringing in some more of the modern fabric dining chairs, some cream fabrics, really to soften it and just to make sure that that photo has some light reflecting rather than all of the timber sucking up the light. Same goes for the dresser. We're bringing in a beautiful table lamp and some greenery to soften it, and then it'll be paired up with fabric cream sofas, everything like that, not with the traditional Victorian sofas and everything. We wouldn't use the full setting. It's just a little bit too much in some cases.
How to make coastal and modern/contemporary work together seamlessly, and that's from Jeweler 8.
So that is a bit of a tricky question because they are two separate styles in themselves. So when you're trying to force two things to come together, it won't be seamless to start with. My recommendation would be to draw elements of both that you love individually from both and then bring those together. So for example, go with modern contemporary furniture and bring in the elements of blues into there to really bring the softness of the blues and the calmness, the peacefulness and the relaxation the color can bring, which is why it's a coastal color. You wouldn't be able to go with the straight lines and very I guess more block tones of a modern contemporary, and you couldn't pair that with wickers or with whites or the soft timbers. They don't go together well. So you need to draw on the elements that you love of both individually and then bring those elements together to create your own style. We wouldn't style for sale using that. You really need to, it depends on your home.
How did you begin to get clients for your business? And that comes from Rochelle Caressa. So
I've answered this one before, but we, way back in the day, when I first started, I used to do agent phone calls. So I started off calling 5 agents a day. Interestingly, the first 5 agents I called, I still do work for all 5 of those agents now. So it goes a long way. So I'd call 5, and the next day I'd call another 5. I'd call another 5 the next day, and then a month later they'd get another email from me. 3 months later, they'd get another phone call. It's just about keeping your name in the back of their head. It wasn't me selling my services. It was just a, hey, just letting you know I'm here, I'm doing things a little bit differently, would love to have a coffee and have a chat. I didn't want to take away an agent from another stylist. It was literally, I just want my name in the back of your head because there's always going to be a time you need a backup, and I want to be that person. So that's way back, and then I'd call Jake in between for someone who actually wanted to talk to me.
Next question comes from all things interior design _ Juliet. Do you get many cancellations? And if so, what are the conditions?
We don't. Most of our work, I can't speak for all stylists because the model of everybody's business is different. So for us, a job locks in. Normally the lead time is less than a week for those jobs. So they're already committed, they know they're selling, the photographer's booked in, the marketing's paid for, the Form 6 is signed, everything is rolling. We aren't really in the preparation process for those clients. So for that, because of that, and everything else is already paid, everything's ready to go, not many cancellations happen. If they do happen, a couple off the top of my head that have happened have sold off market, which is an amazing outcome for those clients. It's a bit of a, oh, how frustrating for us. Had that time booked, had that furniture selected, but at the end of the day, that's the best outcome for the client. They haven't had to go through the open homes. They hadn't had to go all through that inconvenience, and they've still achieved a sale result that they're really happy with. So we don't charge a cancellation fee. I don't charge a portion. If I have rocked up with the truck full of furniture, that would be a completely different thing. That's never ever happened. I know there are other stylists here in Brisbane that do charge like a lock-in deposit when we're coming into spring, or if jobs are trying to book in with us kind of 8 weeks or further out, we do get them to pay a deposit, and then the remainder is due a week before we install. And that's just the certainty. But to be absolutely honest, if those jobs cancelled as well, they don't lose the deposit, we refund it. It's more just to show the commitment, I guess.
You do, however, get a lot of changes in scheduling.
You do, absolutely. So I'll have somebody, and this is one of the things that is really great about having our truck, owning our stock, not having to go through that middleman, is our flexibility. So if someone was to ring me today and say, oh, the painters haven't finished. Actually, this happened. We're meant to be doing an install tomorrow. He called me on Monday. The painters are going a bit longer than they thought. They're not going to finish on Australia Day. I'm really worried because I'm going to get the cleaners in. I don't want to put all that stress onto the client. So my answer, oh, it's all right, we'll shift it a week. That's not a problem, Jim. Reschedule the photos, make sure they still work, and we'll still work in with that time frame. It's all about that flexibility and making it easy for them. And that's been our whole business model from the start.
Next 2 questions come from House to Home Styling. How long after an install do you plan to use until you use the stock again?
That's a bit It depends if it's a vacant property or it occupied, if someone's living in it. It depends if potentially I knew that when it went into the property, it could have potentially had a little bit of a mark. Are there kids in there? Are there animals in there? Is it due for a clean? But the more hardy of pieces, I say, bedside tables, beds, those sorts of things, not outdoor settings. I'm a bit dubious when it comes to rugs and to lounges, but floor lamps, all those things, we would literally pick it up from one install and take it to the next install on the very same day. It's those other, the cream ones in particular, and especially outdoor lounges, that we tend to give it a little bit of quarantine time to get cleaned.
And the second question there was, do you ever put together mood boards for your clients first before an install?
No, we don't. I did toy with that idea at the start about presenting as much value as I could to the client, but everything we do is based on our styling expertise. So if I am to show them a mood board, and it introduces the idea that it's a two-way communication about the styling that we're going to bring. So it's more, rather than having the sign off on what we're bringing, we have a styling promise that if a client is unhappy for whatever reason with the styling that we do, that we would work with them to make changes with them and their agent to make changes, or at least at the very least have an explanation as to why we've positioned a sofa this way, or why we use two armchairs and not a single armchair and a sofa with a chase. Like, it's a discussion can go a long way. So no mood boards, but we have the promise to give peace of mind.
And the last question from Design to Sell _ property styling. What are your golden rules in terms of choosing bed sizes in bedrooms?
All right, so the biggest, so we've got two rules. A room that is smaller than 2.7 metres, it cannot fit a double bed. So it needs to be 2.7 in order to get the bedside tables and the bed in there comfortably. If it's smaller than that, we're going to revert to a single bed and a console table or a desk or something. Then if the room is larger than 4x4, we'll go with a king bed. So the queen beds sort of sit in that 3x3 space. Big rooms, kings, small rooms are singles. There's always those houses that all rooms are sort of that 3x3 size. And then the decisions on what beds to use in there. Is it going to be a small young family that buy that house? Is it going to be investors? Like, those are the decisions that then make the decision on the bed and the arrangement for us.
And when do you choose or know when to put in two singles?
When the room's really, really big. We don't do them too often because as far as a presentation, they look fantastic, and that's been the three that we have done. They're our biggest Instagram likes. They're the ones that people follow the most, but they double the cost for a client. It's bringing in double of everything. So I have to see the worth there. There has to maybe be 6 bedrooms in the house, and we're trying to really do something with this last bedroom to make it special. Definitely has to be a family home, and the room would have to be at least, I would say, 4 meters, 4.5 meters long, like a long skinny room. They're the ones that we would use.
And that's a wrap for this week's Foxy TV episode. Thanks again to everyone who sent through questions. Really appreciate that. And thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.